They stayed cold a long time over there, right long. A couple of days, we were on like that.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's about ready to start to the 2023 Bi-County Steer and Heifer Show. We're going to start this off just the way everything in the country and the world ought to be started off. We're going to start off with the anthem, the pledges, and the prayer. I'm going to turn this over to your junior board members, and we're going to get this thing kicked off.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Please join me in the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you and ask for help and safety over all the exhibitors, their families, agents, ag teachers, stock show board, volunteers, our communities, and the livestock. We thank you for this opportunity to do what we love. Amen.
folks. I hope Mr. Caleb Selman's ready to talk as good as that young lady sang right there. He's kind of got the pressure on him this morning, this afternoon. We're going to start the show off real quick, but I want to introduce your steer and heifer show judge today. His name is Caleb Selman. He's a graduate from Oklahoma State University. While at OSU, he was an active member of the livestock judging team, where he won the Fort Worth Show judging contest, as well as the High Individuals 9th Nebraska Cattlemen's Congress and the Black and Bridle contest. So that's 3 in a row. Currently, he is the FFA advisor at Cordell Public Schools. Got a few more times I'm going to introduce him, and we'll talk about some of his ag teaching highlights. But if y'all will give a warm downheart welcome to Mr. Caleb Selman, we're going to turn him loose and let him sort your cattle. In our first class in English, we're going to have Caitlin Graham and Courtney Deason. While Mr. Selman is sorting the first class, I'd like to make note to all exhibitors' parents that we have moved the photo booth this year to the back over here in the corner outside of the door. We'd sure like to see everybody as they exit the ring with their steers during the show or right after the show. I'd sure like to see you back there taking your pictures. Kind of a change up on the picture program this time. If you see Mr. Clay Waldrop walking around, I'd sure like y'all to thank him. He's donated the entire photography this time. He has paid a fee for everybody. So folks, take advantage of that. Get your lifelong memories taken back there. Got a couple of young ladies in the ring, one back there at the backdrop. We sure need to take advantage of it. I'm going to hand the microphone over to Mr. Selman whenever he's ready.
Well, kicking off here, and I'd like to say I appreciate the opportunity to come and sort through your cattle and work with these young kids, and I always appreciate the opportunity to come and sort through a show, and I This is my passion in life. This is something I very, very much enjoy. Young lady kicks us off here with a long feathered steer is awfully good. I think a calf that is comparatively to the second in this class. That calf's just a nickel better in terms of his body feel. He's more impressive right there in regards to his full rib. The calf's got more flank. And then when that young lady gets him off to the side and gets him set up right, that calf's just got a neater and a more eye-appealing set to his rear leg. I think he's just more attractive and better in the way that he lays his shoulder back into his scapula. That's an awfully nice calf that young lady ought to be proud of. And that young lady coming in here in second, that's another really nice kind of steer. A steer that's got some shape when you study him down his top, and obviously he's not clipped as compared to his predecessor, and I didn't hold that against you at all, because I think a steer that genuinely can use his rear leg with some flex and comfort. Just when I get behind the cattle, I just didn't see that one with quite the depth, the stifle, and quite the depth, the quarter to go along there with it. And still, I'd like to just pull his flank down ever so slightly, and we could make that pair awfully closer. But a really nice pair of cattle. My congratulations to those two young ladies.
First place in that class goes to Caitlin Graham, and second place goes to Courtney Deason. I think both of those young ladies kind of make you a lap around and be ready to come back in for the breed champion drive after the heavyweight class, which is going to consist of Barrett Besner and Bo Besner.
young man here in the heavyweight class with the dark roan steer. Red steer is going to win this class. And like I said before, I'm not going to be too prejudiced on whether these things are clipped or not, because I know that there's some endpoints that are going to be a little on down the road. And I think this is just a really nice kind of calf. I think when you truly study him and get past the extra shag that he has, I think his balance and proportion is just a nickel better. And not to mention a steer that's just a nickel better when you study him in regards to his flank and his body composition to go along with it. I think a calf that is there in terms of market fundamentals and the things that you have to have just in regards to meat animal shape. You step up on top of him, that's a big top steer, that's a big hip steer, that's a calf that's got plenty of quarter and stifle to go along with it. And not to mention that calf's got a big foot that goes plenty well in my opinion. And that's my congratulations to that young man. Young man's Hereford steer here in second is that you can't build a calf that's got more flex and reach and comfort than that steer does. Out of his front shoulder, I haven't seen many cattle, especially steers, that can reach and go the way that calf can. He uses his rear leg with so much comfort and flex to go along with it. Just for me, I'd like to jerk a rib out of that steer and just make him a nickel shorter bodied, and I think that would just fix his balance and help him blend a little better. And a calf that I would just like to pull his flank down ever so slightly and just make him a little more balanced and proportional from the side. An awfully nice pair of steers. My congratulations to those two young exhibitors.
Congratulations to Barrett Besner on your class winner and Bo Besner on your second place. Now we're going to have our champion English steer drive. Both first places. First from the lightweight class will be Caitlin Graham. First from the heavyweight class will be Barrett Besner. Second from the lightweight will be Courtney Deason, and second from the heavyweights will be Bo Besner. I think he said he'd like to see all four of them at once if we can make that happen.
Well, if this first division is any indicator of how the quality of this show, then I think I'm going to be in for a good time, because I sure enjoy getting to study and look at just quality animals in general. I don't really care about the species or anything like that. I don't turn down many shows just as long as I can find a quality one. I'm plenty excited to come judge one, and I sure appreciate the quality and the depth that we've had in this first division. All four of these calves are nice, and the two that win those two respective classes are awfully good in my opinion. I think both those steers are very good in the way that they reach. I'm probably a show judge that when it comes to steers, I'm not just have to have them just built completely perfect, because I understand these are meat animals, and at the end of the day, these things are going to be beef, and I think that's the biggest priority, and I think that's something that you need to stick to and keep it them sound enough, and I think that's where these two calves on the top end of this deal are very, very good. They both got meat animal shape. They both are very, very flexible and sound. I'm going to put the mic down and I'll go select your champion, but let's give these 4 kids a real good round of applause while I select your champion.
Your breed champion, the English steer, goes to Barrett Besner, and from Class 2, and your reserve breed champion goes to Caitlin Graham, first place out of Class 1. Next class will be your third class of steers. We've got 4 exotic steers in the lightweight drive. We have Braylee Heiser, Braxton Gilliam, Courtney Deason, and McKenna Moore. These steers range from 126 to 175. As I said a while ago, Mr. Caleb Sullivan is your steer judge today. This gentleman comes to us. He's the advisor in Cordell, Oklahoma. He's an OSU grad. He grew up raising some show pigs, does a lot of cattle judging, some pig judging. Last year, one of his individuals there in his chapter had the Reserve York at the OYE. If you people understand what that one is, that one's pretty much our equivalent to Houston. That is the biggest livestock show in the world. Judging livestock team, his team was top 10 in state, but he said probably his biggest attribute last year as a first-year livestock judge or a first-year advisor is 100% of all of his exhibitors made the sale at the county sale. Everybody doesn't get to sell one over there in his county. You have to earn the right. Top third, top 40%. I didn't ask him on that one, but I know if you've got every exhibitor you have makes a sale at a county show like that, folks, you're flat getting it done. So once again, just like the young lady you had judging your steer show last year, it's an OSU graduate. We get people like this to come over here and sort our cattle and spend time with our youth. I hope you young individuals understand what it's like to get somebody like this that cares for livestock and cares more for kiddos. So each one of you outside the ring right now, let's give a warm round of welcome to Caleb Sullivan. As we sort through our first class of lightweight exotics, I'd like to draw your attention to the top buyer banners that we've got sitting over on the holding pins and the pig pins. Those are the individuals that will be the top buyers at our sale from last year. Just like what we said last year, we sure need to thank those people and appreciate them and do business with them if there's a way we can. And if you'll read the TV in the back, there's scrolling through different people who have supported your Bi-County, either through Supporters Fund or back in the concession stand or paraphernalia as far as buckles and things like that. Be sure and thank those people as we go. And I'd like to bring attention to the young people that are in your dark navy blue short sleeve shirts that you see walking around. Those are your junior board members. Do those kids a favor for later in life and go up and introduce yourself to them and make those kiddos talk to you. We've got to be advocates for agriculture, and those kids are the ones that are going to lead us that direction. So you adults on the outside of the ring, be sure to go talk to those young individuals and make them talk to you. Ask them some questions and put them on the spot. That's part of being a board member. We've got to push that point a little harder. So again, thank the buyers and thank the TV people that you see up there on that, and talk to your junior board members.
Well, while they're getting the cattle sorted up, I'd like to say, you know, if you're an up-and-coming kid that wants to livestock judge and wants to be on the mic someday, I think this is a set of 4 steers that you really need to buy into and look at, because I think this is as good of a livestock judging class as you could possibly put together as far as a set of lightweight steers go, and just to be able to talk the differences and to go through here and find the right one and then so forth on down. I think that's something that could be very, very helpful for you going on into the future. And the young lady here up front starts and does so for me pretty handily. That's a really nice calf, a steer that's extremely attractive right there ahead of his shoulder. He's appropriate in terms of his body length. I like his body condition and his composition and where that calf is at. And that young lady gets him set up and poses him on a profile. That calf's got a deadly look from the side, and you step in behind the cattle, and that steer's as stout-hipped and big big pinned as you can ask one to be at this weight. Just a nice kind of calf to go ahead and lead this deal off. Young lady here in 2 has got a nice kind of steer as well. A calf that's got good body composition, a steer that's good in terms of his body shape. When you step up and look up on their tops, a calf that's got some spread and a calf that's got some mass. I like the shape of his rib cage, or in terms of his rib shape and body. Step in behind the cattle, and you wish that steer just came with a little more punch when you study him out of his hip. But a calf that falls into second just in regards to structural integrity and the way that steer moves out of his front shoulder and his rear leg. Young lady here in 3rd has got a steer that's a little longer and a calf that's extremely jet fronted and neat up front when you study him. Calf that's clean about his chest floor, and you study him from there back. A calf that you'd like to pull his flank down ever so slightly and just make him a nickel fatter, and then you get in behind the cattle and you still would like to see just a little more punch and a little more freshness when you study him in regards to his quarter. A steer that still needs to be a little more attractive in the way that he handles his rear leg, but a nice kind of steer the young lady ought to be proud of. Young man coming here in 4th has got a nice kind of steer when you study him in terms of body shape. A calf that's actually got a little more flank than the steer in 3rd. A steer that I just wasn't just the biggest fan of in regards to his shoulder make, and a calf that just needs to be a nickel better in the way that he handles his front shoulder. And then not to mention, he's probably given up the most just in regards to muscle and mass. A really, really nice set of steers. Let's give those 4 individuals a really good round of applause.
In your lightweight exotic class, 1st place goes to Braylee Heiser. 2nd place goes to McKenna Moore. Courtney Deason has 3rd, and Braxton Gilliam places 4th in that super tough class as exotic steers. In our middleweight drive, we have Caitlin Graham, Allie Burns, Georgia Besner, and Kirsten Besner. This class ranges from 1085 to 1200. Again, a reminder, parents, exhibitors, photo booth is set back in what used to be the pig exercise ring back on the west side of the barn over here. We sure need you to get over and take you some pictures. Flying W Aviation sure did step up and deal us a good hand on being able to get all the pictures you need from these ladies, these 3 ladies that are at our county show taking pictures this time. So y'all take advantage of that, and let's get that done. Also would like to remind you that there is a 30-minute break between the steer show and the heifer show. That way we can get some of this good Texas Panhandle dust blown out of these heifers when they come off the trailer. And if you'd like to take steer pictures then, we need to do that also.
Well, I guess I'd be remiss to say if you couldn't find a better set of 4 steers to put a judging class together like that last class was. Here's your middleweight class that'll rival it. And I think these 2 steers at the top end of this class are as good of a pair of steers as I've probably gotten to evaluate in a show setting. And I think both of these calves are very, very good. And I think both of these calves have a real bright future. Young lady that I let off with, the calf that just looks like he's got a little more grow in him, steer that's just a little more extended and a little higher headed when you study him right there in front of his shoulder. Calf that's extremely attractive when you study him from the side. And that young lady gets him posed right. That thing is flat good from the side. I love his body shape. I love how stout he is outside of his hip. And then you study his pin and it works right. And when that young lady takes him off on a stroll, that calf is as neat and attractive in his rear leg and his front shoulder as you would like to make one. A calf that I would be, if I was feeding some steers, I'd be worried about these 2 right here. And the young lady here in second, ain't nothing to take away from you. I think that's an awfully nice steer in his own right. When that one came through the opening gate first, I thought, man, that one's going to be tough to get around. And he is, because that is a giant-footed steer. That's a calf that uses his rear leg as good as I would hope for one. That's a big hip steer. That's a big bodied steer. That's a calf that's extremely attractive from the side. In comparison to my class winner, a calf that just gets a little slinky right there in his top, right behind his shoulder, and just wants to get a little off and have a little deviation behind his shoulder. And to me, that just kind of throws his balance off ever so slightly, and we could probably clip that out of him. And at a big show, you'd probably never be able to tell the difference. But a calf that today just kind of falls short in just regards to balance as compared to that one right there in front of him. Young lady here in 3 just kind of ran into a buzzsaw pair, because I think that's a really nice calf to go ahead and be third, and you don't find many county shows or shows of this range of numbers that this calf would be third, because that is a very attractive, it's a neat looking steer. That's a sound made, good structured steer. A calf that just doesn't have the bone, and a calf that just doesn't have the mass to compete with them 2 in front of him, but an awfully nice steer to sit there and study from the side. Young lady here in 4, dark red steer is a nice kind of calf when you study him in terms of muscle shape. I think when you get on top of that steer, he's got some genuine expression when you study him down his top. Calf that just doesn't use his rear leg and his front shoulder as well as I'd like him to, and then still from the side just kind of falls out of balance, but an awfully nice muscular kind of steer to be there in 4. My congratulations to those 4 young ladies in that class.
First place in your middleweight exotic drive goes to Kirsten Besner. Second to Caitlin Graham. Georgia Besner is third, and Allie Burns is 4th. In your heavyweight exotic class, we have Ellie Kate Besner, Braylee Heiser, and Allie Burns. First place steers in class 1, which would be Braylee Heiser, and first place steer in Kirsten Besner, be on standby to come back for our champion exotic. In our heavyweight drive of Ellie Kate, Braylee, and Allie, these steers range from 1260 to 1400. As we sort through our heavyweight exotic steers, I'd like to remind you, if you'd like to do add-ons, come visit with Shelby in the office. It's back around over here. We don't have them in the corner closet this time. It'll be on the west side of the concession stand here. And all exhibitors, you'll need to let Shelby know which animal you are selling by 2 p.m. on Friday.
Well, it'd be a good class not to be me, because I think all three of them steers have some things that you could pick and choose and decide which one you want. And if you've had some discrepancies with me, I can dang sure see where you'd be, because I think all three of these steers have something that you need to appreciate. And I think all three of these steers bring an EST to the table in regards to where one is the best in a certain area. But for me, the young lady's gold steer is gonna lead this deal off, because I think he puts the most positives together. I think a calf that's as good structurally as you can ask for in this class, a calf that blends and balances plenty well from the side. I wish that calf was just a nickel bigger. You know, I wish that calf was just a little bigger in his kind and a little bigger in his type. He's a little shorter about his cannon bone, just doesn't look like he's got the extra grow that a couple of these other steers have, but a very good balanced steer. A calf that when you get in behind him, a steer that's as good in terms of his hip and a steer that's stout in terms of his pin set. I like the shape of his rib and body. A steer that's good in terms of his body composition and pretty on point and 12 o'clock when you study him right there in terms of fat and cover. Young lady here at second with the solid black steer has got a calf that is there in regards to market fundamentals and where that one needs to be in body composition. Huge body, balances from the side. I think compared to my class winner, I just got a little more critical of this one. This one's rear leg, especially down low, just wanting to knuckle and pop him ever so slightly and just not be quite as comfortable in regards to his foot, heel, and ankle to go along there with it. But a nice kind of calf that young lady ought to be proud of. And a steer that I think's got a bright future in this painted up calf. That steer's got an extra gear and wants to go, and I think that's because he's extra flexible. A calf that uses his rear leg plenty good, and a steer that for me, when you get in behind the cattle, that calf wasn't quite as impressive when you study him in terms of hip and mass, but a nice trio of steers there. Let's give those three young ladies a nice round of applause.
First place in your heavyweight exotics goes to Ellie Besner. Second place goes to Allie Burns, and third to Braylee Heiser. We'd like to have first place from all three of these classes. In the exotics, first in the lightweights will be Braylee Heiser. First in the middle is Kirsten Besner. And first in the heavies goes to Ellie Besner. And we will have our champion exotic drive. Second place steers be on standby. Again, in your champion exotic drive, first place from the lightweight division is Braylee Heiser. First place from the middleweight division is Kirsten Besner. And first place from the heavyweight division goes to Ellie Besner.
Yeah, I'd like to say that I've judged many shows in my day, and you know, I hope I get to continue to keep judging shows because I sure enjoy getting to work with the kids, and that's the main point for me. Obviously I love sorting through livestock and being able to share my opinion, but it's the kids that make it the point, and I sure appreciate the opportunity to come and do this. And then you step in the ring, and I was telling them over here, as I was saying, you know, normally when a guy calls you and asks you to come judge a show and he said, hey, our numbers aren't going to be good, but the quality will be there, you know, in the back of your head, you're always kind of thinking, okay, I mean, there'll be a couple good ones, but we'll have to sort through the bottom end and be okay. But that was not the case when I showed up to Dalhart today, because I think all of these steers that have rolled into the ring sure have a future, and I think all of them sure have although they all have different endpoints, you can sure find a reason to like every one of them and be a big fan of a few. And I think as we sort through these top three and these class winners, I think it's easy to see the kind of quality that we've sorted through here in your exotic show. And I don't think it's hard to be able to say this is one of the higher quality, per cattle, this is one of the higher quality shows that I've ever got to judge in my life, and I sure appreciate the opportunity to get to come and judge it. I'll set the mic down and I'll go select your champion, but let's give all the cattle exhibitors a real good round of applause while I get selected.
And your champion exotic steer goes to Kirsten Besner, Class 2 of your exotics. Second place in that class is Caitlin Graham. We'd like to have her back for reserve.
You dropped that one that was second to class and to our champion in here, and I think it sure gets into the mix, and one that I think it doesn't deviate the quality whatsoever. I thought in class that one pushed our champion as hard as he could have, and I think that's another good kind of steer. Very, very good exotic show that I've been happy to sort through. I'll put the mic down again and go select your champion. Let's give these young ladies a real nice round of applause.
And your reserve champion goes to second place out of Class 2, Caitlin Graham. And back in for our grand, we'd like to have the champion and reserve from the English division. Breed champion is Barrett Besner, reserve breed champion is Caitlin Graham, and from our exotic division, champion will be Kirsten Besner, and your reserve is Caitlin Graham. Again, I'd like to introduce our gentleman sorting our cattle show today and spending time with our youth. His name is Caleb Selman. He's a graduate from OSU. While he was at OSU, he was an active member of the livestock judging team, where he won the Fort Worth Stock Show, as well as the high individual at the Nebraska's Cattlemen Congress and the Block and Bridle Contest. Currently, he is the FFA advisor in Cordell, Oklahoma. He had a background of raising show pigs as he was growing up, still has that passion today. Asked him how many sows he had, and he said he just doesn't have but 10. And I told him, I said, well, that's more than most people want to deal with, because on a good day, that's 100 sows, and a bad day, that's way more than what you want. So you got 100 babies running around, you got a lot of pigs. Caleb said his highlight of his year last year as an ag teacher was that he had 100% of his exhibitors made the sale at his county. And at their county, you have to place in the top 30% of your class to make the sale. When you sort them out hard, folks, as an ag teacher, that's an awful big accomplishment, especially for a first-year ag teacher to be stepping into the Southwest District over there in that part of Oklahoma, as tough as it gets. So everybody put your hands together for Mr. Caleb Selman, and let's thank him for judging that steer show. And one more reminder, we'd like to have a break of 30 minutes after the grand and reserve steer have been picked. We're going to tap out for 30 minutes and give the heifers a little bit of time to come back in, get the dirt blown out of them, and get them prepped and ready for Mr. Selman to sort them. So we'll have a 30-minute break between the steer and the heifers.
Well, the steer side of this cattle show has been awfully good, and I'm excited because on the way home I'll get to call my fiance and she'll ask me and we'll say, how was it? And I'm going to get to say that was one of the better cattle shows I've ever got to judge in my life, because I think all four of these animals out here are as high caliber and high quality as they come, and I think all four of them exemplify what it needs, what you got to have to be competitive at a high level and at a major level. And you know, I was talking to one of my ag teacher buddies down there in South Texas, and I asked him how he does it when trying to get these things ready for 4 different majors or having 4 different sets on feed. And he said, man, it's the kids. You know, they go to work and they work hard, and you come out here and you study these things and how the animals act, and they get in the ring and they look like they've been there before. And I think that's just a big my congratulations to these kids, because they've obviously worked their tails off. Their animals are highly presented. The kids are doing a very good job on the stick, and I think that's something that needs to be congratulated by their parents or by something or by anybody that's helping them, because at the end of the day, these animals, we get really wrapped up in the animals being as good as we can make them, but in all reality, these animals are just a vessel to make the kids as good as we can possibly make them. And I sure, absolutely, and I sure do believe that we have the best set of youth in the country. When you go to a livestock show, you won't find a better group of kids than you get to see at a livestock show. I'll put the mic down. I'll go select your grand and reserve, but I sure appreciate getting to come and study your steers.
Grand champion steer, your 2023 Bott County Stock Show goes to Kirsten Lesner. And your reserve grand of your 2023 Bi-County Stock Show is your breed champion English, goes to Barrett Besner. We'll take a 30-minute break between the steers and the heifers. Y'all be sure and get your pictures taken, all your steers, please. We'll resume the heifer show at 2:30. let's grab us a seat. We're going to start our 2023 Bi-County Heifer Show in Class 1, the English Division. We got one entry in this class, is Dirk Daniels. Dirk Daniels, please bring your English heifer in. Those of you that weren't here for this steer show, I'm going to introduce our judge today. We have Mr. Caleb Selman. Caleb is an Oklahoma State University graduate. While he was at OSU, he was an active member of the livestock judging team where they won the Fort Worth Stock Show judging contest. And he was also the high individual at the Nebraska Cattlemen's Congress and the Black Block and Bridle contest. Currently, Mr. Selman is the FFA advisor in Cordell, Oklahoma. In his FFA chapter, I asked him a couple of highlights, and he said last year, in his first year, he had one of his students had the reserve champion York at the OYE. Folks, that's a monster step. And in the judging side of it, he had his livestock team was top 10 in state. Those of you on the outside of the ring, let's put your hands together and give Mr. Caleb Selman a warm welcome.
Well, the young man brings in a really nice Hereford marked steer or heifer here in the English division, and I think a heifer that's awfully youthful about her look, and she's still green and immature in her body composition, but a heifer that's still extremely good. She's square when you study her from behind in regards to her hip and her pins. That is a beautifully made heifer from the side, and you study her just in regards to her angles and her build, and I think that's an awfully nice heifer that young man ought to be very, very proud of. Let's put our hands together for that young exhibitor.
First place in your youngest division, your English heifers, goes to Dirk Daniels. And the second division in our English heifers, we have Cambry Lenz, Dirk Daniels, and Mia Burns.
And I told him I was going to text me this and your phone, you have to put it on. Yeah. She's not. She got some shots and some she's just that's what she probably wears her up. Get that baby girl, you know, you gotta have a purpose.
See a couple of young ladies out there helping in the heifer ring. They're junior, Bi-County junior board members. You see them floating around the barn in the next couple of 3 days. They have these navy blue short sleeve shirts on. Be sure and stop and visit with them. Let's add to these youth's future while making them be able to talk livestock and be able to talk the agricultural industry. Visit with them. Folks make them uncomfortable. Let them spend time with what they're doing, enjoying here, but spend a little bit of time going and visiting with your junior board, and also tell them thanks for all the help that they're doing, because we couldn't do this without them.
The last 4 or 5
a real tough little trio of young heifers, and I think between the three, I think there's parts and pieces of each one that you'd like to take and pick apart and put on another one, and I think you could find you a very near ideal one. The one that I'm just the most comfortable with using is the young man up front, and I think a heifer that's as attractive and neat from the side as you can ask. The young man does a really good job getting this heifer presented. I think a heifer, in comparison to her predecessors, I think her shoulder angle is just a nickel better, and I think she's just more smooth and laid back better in the angle of her shoulder. I think it goes back into her scapula just a nickel better, and then from there back, I like the feel of her forerib for her age. It goes back into her flank with plenty good, and I think for me, when you step in behind the cattle and I'm studying heifers, I understand that these things don't need to be just the stoutest things in the world, and I think just for me, when you put structure and balance and eye appeal together, I think this young man needs to lead. Young lady's heifer that comes in here in second, I think a heifer that could sure push our class winner, and I think one that for me in this show judge, I'd like to just lay her shoulder back in her ever so slightly and just make her just a little more comfortable. She wants to throw her head down and just not be quite as attractive up front, and I think that's just because she's not quite as comfortable in her shoulder, maybe a little more upright in the angle of her knee, but man, from there back, that's a very nice heifer. She's round in terms of her rib and body shape. I like her in terms of depth, and from the side, from shoulder back, that heifer is as neat and attractive as you can ask one to be. Young lady, shorthorn marked heifer, has got the stouty one in this class. So you study her up high, that heifer's got some real shape. That heifer's big out of her hip. She probably carries the most genuine muscle down into her lower quarter and stifle. A heifer for me that just didn't come with the same kind of bone. A heifer for me that I think just gets a nickel harsher right there. When you read past her hair, she just gets a nickel harsher right there in terms of her forerib, and just body composition wise, didn't look like she matched up with these other two heifers quite as well. Heifer that's got a very bright future when we can go ahead and get her more close to 12 o'clock in terms of her body composition. Awfully nice trio of heifers. Let's give those young individuals a really good round of applause.
First in that class goes to Dirk Daniels, second is Camry Lenz, and third is Mia Burns. In our third division of our English heifers, we have Haley Nicholson, Kinsey Thomas, and Judd Daniels.
First. How are you, man? Got a question for you. Discounted. I said we back at
76. Those of you that's sitting on the outside of the ring, I was advised of a little tidbit a while ago. As far as we can track this back, this county show has been, or bi-county show has been going on for a little over 80 years. I went over and talked to Mr. and Mrs. Besner and Mr. and Mrs. Ferris there a second ago. Mr. and Mrs. Ferris said they remembered their first bi-county stock show was in 1975. Do a little quick math on that one, that's about 48 years. And Mr. and Mrs. Besner said their first one was in 1965. So you're looking at 35, 58 years worth of county shows in that family. I'd like to see if there's anybody else that can remember being here longer than that one. So 1965 was the first county stock show they remembered, folks. That's a lot of history in those two families coming to this thing. So 80 years is a big deal for the town and the counties, but 65 years worth of it is, or 58 years of it's an awful big attribute to a family and backing these kiddos. So hats off to 80 years on the bi-county, but sure enough, hats off to a couple of families over here that have backed it that long. So let's give them a round of applause as we go through that.
Well, like I said earlier, in a steer class, it's a good day not to be the show judge because there's some tough calls to make in this class because I think these two heifers that lead, I think standing ringside, you could probably have your favorite between the two, and I would sure listen to you because I think both of them are awfully good. Young lady, short-horn roan steer that I elected to start with is just a little more there, and she's there in terms of her body composition. She's a little stouter when you step in behind her in terms of her hip and pin width. That heifer's got more genuine muscle when you study her right there in terms of her quarter. If I want to make that heifer perfect, I'd like to just relax her ever so slightly in regards to her ankle and heel. Every once in a while, every other step she likes to take, she just wants to get a little more upright in terms of her ankle, but an awfully nice heifer. When that young lady gets her propped up and posed from the side, that one's hard to get around in my opinion. Young man's goggle-eyed Hereford heifer here is an awfully good one just in regards of being raw and green. Heifer that's still got a big future in my mind. Very proportional, very good balanced heifer. Heifer that if I was coaching a judging team on this female here, a heifer that I would say a class needs to buy in on just in terms of what one genuinely should look like in regards to balance. For me, I thought a heifer that just gave up quite a bit of power to our class winner and one that wasn't quite as stout, but an awfully nice heifer that young man ought to be proud of. Young lady just kind of ran into a buzzsaw pair here in my opinion. A red heifer that I think just gets a nickel more tubular in terms of her body shape. I'd like to drop her flank and just make her a little rounder in terms of her rib cage and her body, but an awfully nice heifer in terms of reach and range of motion. Yeah, let's give those three exhibitors a really nice round of applause as they answer.
First place in your third class of heifers goes to Kinsey Thomas. Second place goes to Judd Daniels, and third place to Haley Nicholson. In our fourth class of English heifers, we have Henry Meyer and Benjamin Meyer. Class winners from the first three classes, y'all be on standby. We have this class of 2 and another class of 1, and we'll be choosing our champion English heifer.
I'm going to place them like they are. The young man to my right is going to be your class winner, and I think a heifer that just does so, just in regards to skeleton and look from the side. I think a heifer that's quite a bit better in the way that she handles her rear leg, and a good heifer in regards to body composition and body shape. And you step in behind the cattle, I think she's got a nickel more genuine muscle shape and muscle expression to go along with it. My congratulations to that young man for a really well presented heifer. Young man here in second's got a heifer that's definitely there in regards to composition. She's got enough on her in that regard. A heifer that balance is good enough from the side for me, and for me, I guess a heifer that just got a little more upright and stilty in the way that she handled her rear leg. Just didn't want to prop up and show herself off the way the young man in front of her did, but an awfully nice pair of them. Let's give those two young men a nice round of applause for that.
First place in Class 4, your English heifers, goes to Benjamin Meyer. Second place to Henry Meyer. Class 5 of our English heifers, we have one exhibitor, Braxton Gilliam. And again, your first place exhibitors, y'all be on standby. We'll roll into our champion English heifer right after Class 5.
Young man brings a really nice single entry here to round out your English division. I think a heifer that's sure enough good. One that's plenty stout, one that's got some muscle, and you love her rib cage, and you love her body shape to study. A heifer that's plenty good in terms of her full rib, and still when she takes off and strolls, that heifer can move with some flexibility and some comfort. Man, from the side, that heifer paints you a really nice picture of what a big bred should look like, just in regards to balance and proportion. My hat's off to that young man. I'm excited to see that one back out here in the English Drive.
First place in your 5th division of your English heifers goes to Braxton Gilliam. In our champion English heifer show, in Class 1 will be Dirk Daniels, will be representing Class 1, and Class 2 will also be Dirk Daniels. In Class 3, Kenzie Thomas. In Class 4, Benjamin Meyer, and Class 5, Braxton Gilliam. Again, this is for our English division breed champion heifer. In our champion drive for our English division of your 2023 Bi-County heifer class, Class 1 winner, Dirk Daniels. Class 2 winner, Dirk Daniels. Class 3 winner, Kenzie Thomas. Class 4 winner, Benjamin Meyer. And the winner of our oldest division, Braxton Gilliam.
Well, the English division has been good, and I think all 5 of these class winners sure bring quality to the mix. And I think when you get out here and study them, from the calf on to the big bred heifer, I think they all have quality. And I think for me, they all put structural integrity at the utmost importance, and still you blend them back. And these heifers need to be good body. These heifers need to be balanced and proportional. These heifers need to be at the right point in regards to their body composition. And you know, you get to thinking and studying on each one of them, and there's some things that you can fall in love with 1 or 2, and then there's some things about a couple more that you can really tie into as a show judge and just be extremely excited about. There's a couple for me that just do some things that I think are awfully impressive, not only from the side, but in regards to power and in regards to skeletal construction. I think those are the things that we've got to keep in mind when we're studying these things. You know, you get into a steer class and you can find the stoutest one, and it's not hard to judge muscle, but you get in here to these heifers and the breeding side of this deal, and I think you've got to keep your mind open to a couple more options to keep furthering the breed and keep it pushing on down the line with some quality. So I'll put the mic down, I'll go select your champion in reserve, but let's give these kids a real good round of applause.
And your champion English division goes to the Shorthorn heifer out of Class 3, Miss Kenzie Thomas. Need to bring in 2nd place in that class, Mr. Judd Daniels. May need just a second here to have oh, we got it handled.
while we're getting the cattle set. I think I'd be remiss to say that the rest of them out here that are going to, one of them is going to be reserved to our champion, but the rest of these cattle are still really, really good. And even if you didn't win under a specific show judge on a certain day, that doesn't mean you need to hang your head or get upset about anything, because I think you ran into some real good competition today at this Bi-County show, and I think you ought to be awfully proud of yourself, because I think if you made it to this point, you've sure enough got some quality. I'm going to go take one more look and select your reserve. Let's give these English exhibitors a real good round of applause.
And your reserve division British heifer, English heifer goes to Dirk Daniels, calf out of Class 1, your youngest division. Let's congratulate all of our English heifer division showmen, and Class 1 in our exotics goes to Jacob Meyer. First call for Jacob Meyer. Young man wins a really nice single entry here to start off our exotic show, and I think a heifer that from the side is tall-shouldered, a heifer that's good and balanced from the side. She's still green and immature in terms of her body composition, and we get her rolling. I think that heifer's going to look even better here in another 60 days or so. A really nice proportional kind of heifer that can reach and go out of her rear leg. Let's give that young man a really nice round of applause again. First place in Class 1 goes to Jacob Meyer. In Class 2, we have 2 entries. Miss Destiny Talley has both of those. 2 entries in Class 2 of the exotic heifers. At the conclusion of our heifer show, we're going to roll directly into our showmanship. The showmanship divisions are broken into junior showmanships, grade 3 through 5, intermediate showmanship 6 through 8, and your senior division is 9 through 12. Junior showmanships first, intermediate showmanship followed by the senior showmanship. There is no break. We're going to roll directly into it. Steer and heifer showman both are in the showmanships together.
I'm going to leave them how they came in, and the young lady up front's going to have your class winner, and I think a heifer that just does so in regards to skeleton, a heifer that when she takes off and strolls, she uses her rear leg with more comfort and stability, a heifer that when you study from behind, a female that definitely has a little more real muscle shape. You know, I'd like to pull her flank down and just make her a little better in terms of her body shape and body composition, but a nice heifer right there just in regards to muscle and skeleton to go along with it. Young lady here in second's got a heifer that's actually matches that pretty well. A heifer that is better in terms of her lower body line and still has a nickel more forerib to go with it. Heifer that's just a little more upright in the angle of her shoulder, a little stiltier in the way that she handles her rear leg, but an awfully nice pair of females. Let's give those two young ladies a really nice round of applause. There.
First place in Class 2 of your exotic division heifers, it goes to Destiny Tally, as well as second place goes to Destiny Tally. In third division of your exotic cross heifers, we have Benjamin Meyer and Mia Burns.
Young lady, I like that halter better anyways. I think it holds on good. And I think that that black heifer is very, very good. And I think a female that when you study her from the side, if that one don't wake you up a little bit, if that one doesn't make you want to go to the barn in the morning, you probably need to check your pulse, because that one's pretty darn good in my opinion. She's flexible, she's attractive from the side, she's stout when you study her out through her hips, she's big body. Man, that's an awfully nice kind of female to go ahead and win this class. Young man, you've got a nice heifer, and you just kind of ran into a buzzsaw of the class winner. That heifer is good body, that heifer balance is good enough from the side, that heifer uses her rear leg with plenty of flex and comfort. You study her down low, that heifer's got some give in her lower pastern and her ankle. I like that heifer a lot in those regards. Just didn't quite piece together from the side the way that the one in front of her does. Wants to fall out in her chest forward ever so slightly. An awfully good pair of them. Let's give those two kids a real good round of applause.
First in Class 3 of third division of your exotics goes to Mia Burns. Second goes to Benjamin Meyer. Class 4 of the exotics, we got a single entry in Kenzie Thomas. So I'd like to request all three of your class winners of previous classes. Got Jacob Meyer, Destiny Talley, and Mia Burns. Be ready for the champion drive right after this class.
Young lady brings a really good single entry here to round out our exotic classes, and a heifer that doesn't deviate the quality that we've been seeing. I think one that's extremely good looking and balanced from the side. You love that heifer in terms of rib shape and body shape. You step right in behind her, she's got more than enough. When you study her in terms of muscle, I love that heifer's shoulder construction and the way her knee lays back in her. A female that utilizes either end of her build with plenty of comfort and plenty of ease. A heifer that can sure withstand some competition. Let's give that young lady a good round of applause.
Fourth division winner in your exotics goes to Kenzie Thomas. Now we're going to move right into our champion exotic drive. Class 1, Jacob Meyer. Class 2, Destiny Talley. Class 3, Mia Burns. And Class 4, Kenzie Thomas.
I don't know about that.
As we enter into our champion drive in the exotics, first class, Jacob Meyer. Second class, Destiny Talley. Mia Burns is first place in Class 3. And your fourth division winner entering the ring is Kenzie Thomas.
Well, the exotic division of the heifer show has been awfully good, and I think when you study all four of these class winners, they sure enough have some quality, and I think it just continued after the steer show how good these animals have been, and I think the kids are always going to be as good. And I'm very happy that I don't live close to here, because I'd sure get my tail whipped by a couple of the people that rolling around in this deal, because I don't know if I can hang with the kind of quality that these guys are pushing out into the ring, because these are awfully impressive. I'll put the mic down, go select your champion in reserve. Let's give these kids a good round of applause.
Your champion exotic heifer goes to Mia Burns. I need the second place from the third division, Mr. Benjamin Meyer. Please come back into the ring for selection of reserve champion exotic. As Benjamin Meyer comes in for the second in Class 3 for Reserve Division, Reserve Breed Champion in your exotic division, I'd like to remind you that all junior showmanship exhibitors need to be prepping and getting ready. That is everybody 3rd grade through 5th grade that has shown a steer or heifer at the county. You are eligible to come back for junior showmanship, and then we'll follow it with intermediate showmanship and senior. Your reserve division exotic heifer goes to Kenzie Thomas with 2023 Bi-County Stock Show. So in our grand drive, Miss Kenzie Thomas has the champion English heifer. Mr. Dirk Daniels has the reserve breed champion English heifer. From your exotic division, you have breed champion is Mia Burns, and the reserve breed champion is Kenzie Thomas. We're ready for the Grand Champion Heifer Drive for your 2023 Bi-County Show. Breed Champion English Division, Kenzie Thomas. Breed Champion Exotic Division, Mia Burns. Reserve Breed Champion English Division goes to Dirk Daniels. And Reserve Breed Champion Exotic, Kenzie Thomas.
Well, I sure appreciate getting to be able to come and sort through your stock, and I know it's not easy for a Texan to let the Okie grab the mic and tell him what he thinks, and I understand that, but I'm sure happy that I got to come and do this, because man, the livestock has been very good, and I know I still got the showmanship division to work through, but I know quite a few people will probably skedaddle and get out of here before the showmanship, so I just got a couple words that I'd like to tell you, and the whole way up here, my fiance gets she gets kind of bugged with me because I like to listen to podcasts. And the podcast that I listen to on the daily basis is called Unashamed. It's all about Dynasty guys, and they talk about the good word, and they talk about but they talk about the good word and they break down the gospel, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't spread the news and tell you that I'm so happy that I'm coming from an industry or come from a place that I can stand out here and say this on a mic and not be afraid to get bullet holes put in my vehicle on the way out of here, and I'm very happy that I get to do that. And the one piece that I got to study last night before I decided to make the trip up here this morning, I'm in the book of James, and I'm studying James 1 verses 3 and 4, and it talks a lot about testing your faith, and I think it brings a lot of things into picture as far as showing livestock goes, because man, we can sure get upset when we get beat, and I understand that because I'm as competitive as anybody, and we can sure take it out on some people that don't need it let it taken out on. And James 1, 3 through 4 talks a lot about your faith being tested and you being put through the ringer, and you read on, and that just says, hey, when you're being tested, you need to lean on it. When you're being tested, that's when your faith should grow the highest, and that's when your faith should grow the most. And I'm so excited and so happy that I have that person to lean on in my life, and I have something to look forward to when my days on this earth are done. And I'm so excited that I get to spread that and share that with some kids in the ring. The livestock have been incredible. I'm so excited that I get to go pick a champion out of 4 very, very impressive females right here in front of me. I'll put the mic down. Let's give these kids a real good round of applause.
The 2023 Grand Champion Heifer, Mia Burns. reserve grand champion 2023 Bi-County Stock Show heifer goes to the English division, shown by Miss Kinsey Thomas. And again, folks, let's please put your hands together for Caleb Selman. Absolute rock star on the mic. Comes from a background of a belief of a lot of us that walk through this building. You walk by here, shake his hand, and tell him thank you for his thoughts and appreciate him for his time. We're going to let our judge step back and take pictures with our grand and reserve heifers real fast, and then we're going to roll into our showmanship. Junior showmanship, grades 3 through 5. If you've shown a steer or a heifer this year in our stock show, you are eligible to come back for junior showmanship. Intermediate showmanship, grades 6 through 8. Senior showmanship, 9 through 12.
I don't want it, buddy. My team thinks you brought her in got it.
can't find Shelby.
I think people should be able to find out. Shades of
Steer or heifer of the 2023 Bi-County Show, grades 3 through 5. Please get ready, we're about to roll. Folks, we're going to place 3. The top 3 individuals will receive an award. So when that happens, be sure and give your round of applause to everybody that's need or is worthy of that. Again, junior showmanship. Let's roll.
You find about all the drama.
No, not yet.
Looks like we have 5 individuals in our junior division of our showmanship of our beef this year.
showmanship is something that I always appreciate getting to do, because it's the only part of the show that's truly all about the kids. And I think when you get out here and you study them in this junior division, it's something that makes the guys' heart happy, just because we know that we've got a bunch of up-and-comers that are sure going to make this deal tough on into the future and into the future generations. They're going to keep on coming and keep on making it tougher. And I think as we go forward, I think all these kids have something to learn, and I'm sure their parents will tell them about, you always, if you're sitting ringside, and I preach this to my kids at shows, is saying, hey, there ain't no reason to have a cell phone at a stock show. You can leave that in the pickup, because when you come into a stock show, even if you're not showing, if you're not clipping, if you're not fitting, you ought to be sitting ringside and watching how the show's going and watching how it's working through. And that way, when you come in, you're prepared and you're ready to rumble. And I think that's something that I preach to my kids on a daily basis. And I don't go out and I don't shake hands of them right now. I'd like to talk about my showmanship winners, just because it kind of builds a suspense for the kids a little bit. And I understand that this is their Super Bowl in that regard. And for me, there's a couple of them that get into the mix for your class winner, or for your showmanship division winner. The one that I'm probably going to land on to win is the young lady in the black right in front of me. I think a young lady that's done a darn good job, especially getting this heifer presented. Her heifer's cooperating and doing what she wants her to do, and that just shows time in the barn. And I think that's something that you got to appreciate when an animal acts right in the ring, and that shows time in the barn. And I think this young lady spent time with this female. I think this young lady has done a very, very good job getting this heifer presented. Young lady back right behind her is going to be second, and I think a heifer, a young lady that's done a very, very good job, not only all day, but in this class especially. She's got this heifer perfect. You always hear people in the back say, hey, we got to move three. Haven't heard somebody yell at this young lady all day. She does a good job getting those feet placed in the right place. She does a good job there. Heifer kind of got off on her a little bit, and that kind of costed her ever so slightly. Kind of wanted to turn in and not be in the right spot at a couple times, but hey, that's just showing, and that's just part of the deal. Young man in the cowboy hat's going to be third, and I think a young man that's done a great job and keeps this heifer where she needs to be. Does a good job keeping her feet set. Young man, if you just pick her head up ever so slightly and just make sure that her head's keeping up, I think we're gonna make a good showman out of you, and I think you've got a big future. My condolences to all three of them and the rest of the class. My hat's off to you, the junior showmanship division.
Champion Junior Showman, Mia Burns. Second place Reserve Showman is Kenzie Thomas, and your Bronze Showman is Dirk Daniels. Next, we'll have our intermediate division in the showmanship. All individuals in grades 6 through 8 that have shown a steer or a heifer in your 2023 stock show are eligible to return.
They just sent it to
In our intermediate division of grades 6 through 8, we have 5 exhibitors.
More of it than I needed to. Yeah, I've been there. Well, you know, the government had a field all that. It's the whole team. I mean, they're all. Good. Yeah, I don't know where I would have been much.
Well, the intermediates, and as we go further into these divisions, you know, I'll throw a couple more tricks at them and just try to shake them up ever so slightly. And I understand that you know, to be a good cattle showman, there's a lot of different things that goes into it. Eye contact, presentation of the animal, making sure your feet are set. You know, there's a bunch of different things that go into it, and I think there's a lot of things you have to take into account as a showmanship judge and somebody that wants to find the best kid, and that's not always the easiest thing to do because they are all good, and I appreciate that about every one of them. There's a couple out here that get into the mix for me, and I think it gets down to a couple simple things, and I think for me, there's just the eye contact and just keeping eyes on the judge and making sure we're not in the way of any judge's view, and then still doing a fantastic job getting feet set. The young lady in the white's going to be your champion in your intermediate division. I think she did. Of this division, she did the best job maintaining eye contact and keeping everything in check. Her steer is on point in terms of feet placement. Her steer is good and not just too stretched out, not too coupled up underneath himself. Young lady's done a very, very good job. Young lady with the Hereford steer is going to be second, and I think a young lady that's dang sure maintained and kept this calf put together. A young lady that's probably done as good of a job as any is keeping her feet set, keeping the feet set where they need to be. You know, I'd like to, you could tweak ever so slightly and make one go back a little further and bring one a little more further forward, but that's just getting awfully nitpicky on a really good intermediate showman. Young lady on the far side will be your third, and I think, you know, it shows testimony to the toughness of our kids when one's kind of wanting to act like a knothead and not act right, and we can still stay hooked up and keep rolling, and that's what this young lady did. I watched her a couple times get her foot stepped on, and that don't feel good, folks. You know, that's a big heifer. That heifer outweighs her by quite a bit. I mean, 300, 400, 500 pounds. I mean, that's a lot more there than what we like to think. And those things step on your foot. That's not no fun. And that young lady just kept on and trucking, and that's something that I appreciate. You know, we see it in this age group. You know, kids get beat and they just want to lay down, and I think that's something to speak for when one can stand back up and keep rolling. My hat's off to the intermediate showmanship division.
Champion intermediate showman, Miss Allie Burns. Reserve champion silver showman is Caitlin Thomas, and your bronze showman is Cambry Lenz. Next, we'll have our senior showmanship. All individuals that have shown a steer or a heifer in 2023 County Stock Show in grades 9 through 12. In our senior division, we have 6 individuals in the senior showmanship. I'd like to read the bio one more time on our steer showman, our steer judge today, Mr. Caleb Solomon, graduate from Oklahoma State University. He was an active member of probably one of the highest decorated judging teams in recent history at OSU. He was on the livestock judging team where they won the Fort Worth Stock Show. He was the high individual at the Nebraska Cattlemen's Congress and the Block and Bridle contest. Currently, he is in his 2nd year as an advisor in Cordell, Oklahoma. Very active in the pig showing, very active in the livestock judging, very well-rounded chapter. And he says one of his biggest prizes that he's been involved with as an ag teacher last year at their county show, his first year there, he had 100% of all of his exhibitors that showed under Cordell FFA made a sale at their county show, and you've got to be in the top 30% of each class to be able to show, to sell. Folks, that's an accomplishment that not many of us have ever been able to pull off. Hats off to him for that. And folks, I'd like to give you a round of applause for a judge that's as good as one we've ever had. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan, for coming and evaluating the livestock and advising our kids in the best way possible.
I appreciate the nice comments from everybody, and I sure appreciate getting to shake hands with everybody. And I'm like I said earlier, I'm so excited and happy that I come from an industry and a place where I can spread the good word and that be very well welcomed. And I think what happened to that football player a week ago, and everybody praying on the field, I think a lot of people owe Tim Tebow a real big apology, because he pretty much lost his job for kneeling on the field. And then we've got ESPN announcers and people praying on live TV, and nobody gets in trouble for that. So I sure hope that somebody can make that right. So we get in here into this senior showmanship deal, and I sure appreciate what each one of them have done. And as a show judge, it's hard when we do showmanship at the end, like most shows do. It's hard to not hold prejudice for what happened earlier in the show. If something, if you saw a kid that got one out of place or something like that, it's hard not to think about that. But you got to put that out of your mind, and you got to focus on what's happening right in front of you. And I think when we do that, there's a couple out here that are awfully good. And if I was a young exhibitor in this bi-county, and I was in this barn right now, and if I was an ag teacher over here, I'd want all my youngins just perched up on the side with a notebook taking notes on all of these kids, because they've done a very good job. And I'd be very excited if I was an ag teacher over here to see how these things do at a major show, and watch how our area can be represented, because these kids are going to do a phenomenal job on down the line. And I truly believe that. There's a few of them that get into the mix for me. This young lady's white with the white heifer, or the white steer, is going to win this deal. And I think a young lady that can absolutely win at a high level in a showmanship division. She gets that thing stopped and propped. My goodness, that thing looks real good. Those feet are never out of place. That head is always cranked up as good as she can get it. And man, just eye contact and presence. A young lady that looks like she's been on a high stage, and looks like she deserves to be there as well. That's a very good showman in my opinion, and she'll be your champion. Come down here next, and between 2 and 3 is where it gets awfully tough for me. And I think I go back and forth, and do you want intensity, or do you want to make sure that the feet are always in the right place? And I think you can go a couple different ways. The one I'm most comfortable with using is the young lady on the far right for reserve. Just a young lady that's just always poised, always right where this calf is always right where he needs to be. That calf's got his head up. She's doing a good job. Skin and hair and condition all looks on point. And I think a young lady that's always has a look of intensity and looks like she wants to win. So she done a very good job there. And then as we go into third, a young lady in there with the black cardigan is going to be third. And I think a young lady that showed quite a bit of resilience, and she's had some that's not wanting to act right for her and not wanting to do the same things for her. And you show resilience when you come through and you make them do what you need to do. My hat's off to these senior showmanship individuals. I appreciate the opportunity to come judge. You guys have a good evening.
Champion senior showman, Kirsten Besner. Silver and reserve champion showman, Georgia Besner. And your bronze showman goes to Courtney Deason. Again, folks, put your hands together for another round of applause for Mr. Caleb Selman for taking his time out to come and spend his day with your youth.